The loyal opposition is here this evening.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
The minority leader and potential gubernatorial candidate, I just don't know, she's looking at it. State Representative Patricia Morgan is my guest this evening, and we're going to dig into some issues of the state without doing a lot of preliminary discussion in the rundown this evening, if that's okay with you. Great to have you in on this Thursday evening, but we cannot not check in on Washington and what's happening with health care. Here's a headline that I think is kind of interesting. We do have one, correct? Yes. Senate leaders unveiled bill, and it's amazing to me, this now new rush to get this thing done in a week's period of time. It's just hard to comprehend a Republican Party that was so critical of a Democratic Party slinging it and not reading it, pulling the same kind of stunt. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what the urgency is for reform of Obamacare specifically in the next 2-3 weeks or even months. You know, the election is next year. The scrutiny will be the beginning of next year, unless they're trying to create some distance between the change and the actual 18 elections. I don't know. Donald Trump always has something to say.
If we went and got the single greatest health care plan in the history of the world, we would not get one Democrat vote because they're obstructionists.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You're also suggesting that the bill passed by the House was mean. Your words, Mr. President, kind of crazy. And of course, Nancy Pelosi's taken some heat because the Georgia election didn't go real well, and there was no way they were going to win that election. That kid had no chance to win that election. I mean, this is kind of a fabrication. I mean, the mechanics of that election were built in for a long time, female, Republican, established candidate. Anyway, speaking of long-time, female, established Republican candidates, how's that for a transition?
That was pretty good.
I'm
impressed.
Pretty good. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
As we sit here, this is strange. Timing being what it is, you might be watching some news on ongoing debate, and some of you real wonks are watching Capitol TV tonight, later, not now, later, on the ongoing debate discussions. We record this program early in the afternoon each night, so for each night. So you're going to run out of here and run right to the State House.
Yeah.
For the most part, the thing is cooked, and we'll talk about some of the changes you want to make. But speaking of the national scene, I'm guessing you're so knee deep in Rhode Island numbers that I would be unfair to ask you about the details on the Republican national health care changes. Yeah. I think most of the U.S. senators don't really understand what's going on. Do you worry about the pace of this thing, though, like I do? Like, you know, introduce it and then a week later, bang, it's got to be up and voted upon?
You know, honestly, I don't know what their process is down there. I don't know if, you know, they've been having caucus meetings in private, making sure that all the senators really do know what's in
like
it.
There's more lobbyists
and now they're just just unveiling the final bill now, but they've had input all along. I mean, that's kind of how the budget is put together. We have the hearings, but all along people are giving input. You're having conversations with different people in leadership about what's in the budget. So I'm not in Congress. I'm focused here in Rhode Island.
But tell me, you've got to be thinking ahead in terms of whatever new rendition of health care we have, and the Medicaid changes, which seem to be somewhat commonplace between at least the proposals that we have heard, and how it will affect Rhode Island. You've got to be thinking about that. Yeah. Not necessarily for this budget that we're debating as we speak, but ongoing. What are you thinking about that? What's your philosophy? Do you have one?
I'm not sure that we're very well prepared for it at this point. We've seen a lot of cutting of doctors' rates, hospital rates, nursing home rates, but I haven't seen us really get into how to make it a more efficient system, how to serve more people in a more streamlined, more cost-effective way. So we really have to start focusing on that if we're going to cover everybody, and we want to. People should have health care.
Well, our Medicaid
They should have more than a card, though. Right now, we really have a problem with access to doctors. when the governor cut those rates to doctors last year, a lot of doctors just said they couldn't afford to take Medicaid patients. So Medicaid patients are having a hard time finding medical care.
Yeah, but we also are looking at, with the latest proposal from the House at least, you know, could be a few $100 million in cuts to our Medicaid funding. Our healthcare exchange is highly populated by Medicaid enrollees. It's kind of a who knows, right? We'll see what happens in Washington.
Who knows? You know, what I know is we really have to work with the Trump administration. We have to work with them to make sure that the impact on our state is made less, right? They need to help us so that whatever we have in place just doesn't collapse because this bill is passed. We need a transition period. We need their help.
I'm still not sure we're going to get anything significant in change. I think this thing might be a slow bleed. I think there'll be a lot of pressure to do too much too soon next week.
This is what I know. It's really broken. There's just too many families out there that are paying, you know, $8 and $9 and $11 and $12,000 for health care. That's an enormous amount of money for average families, and I think that's unsustainable.
I agree. Let's put up a chart if we can. Let's move on to this budget as we see, and there are budget critics. Excuse me, a little frog in the throat. Critics of Rhode Island budget take aim at one-time revenue transfers. This is something that I want to talk about. Stop with that. I don't need that right now. I do want to pull away from that, Jess, and we'll come back to that.
We're starting again?
Well, what we're doing, we're good. We never start again on this show. That headline, though, is interesting. There's one line item that bothers me. $12.5 million of scooping has gone on here.
Oh, more than that.
To try, well, amongst the scoops is $12.5 million into this energy fund that we pay for as ratepayers.
That's right.
Thought on that?
So first of all, they're one-time scoops. We call them scoops. So you're taking them, the money isn't coming from revenue growth, from organic revenue growth, because our economy is doing better. Our economy is not doing better. The reason we have a $134 million deficit is because our economy is weak, and they're not getting the income tax and the sales tax revenue. So what they're having to resort to is taking it from our electric bills and our gas bills and our sewer bills. That is appalling.
Yeah, it's outrageous. I mean, if you were writing any portion of a check for a certain dedicated fund, and in this particular case, an environmental purpose, and even with the Narragansett Bay Commission, there's a $5 million scoop there out of sewer rates, $6 million.
The DMVs,
there ought to be a rebate to the customers for the money.
So that's exactly right. They're going to just say, well, now we need to charge more in your sewer fees because we've got to make up for this $6 million that the state government is taking.
Are you going to be standing on your head on this one when it comes through tonight, this particular scoop? I mean,
there's a bunch of
when there's something on your electric bill for a specific purpose, and that money is then not used for that specific purpose, two things have to happen: redirect the money for the specific purpose, or give the money back to the customers. There's no middle ground there.
You know, it's like I look at the sewer fees, which are really high. They've tripled from Narragansett Bay Commission in the last 8 years. Those people are already paying a lot. Now we're going to say, well, you got to make up this $6 million, so Narragansett Bay is going to charge them more. That's like saying property taxes. We're going to take your property taxes now. It's just wrong. It's an ultimate bait and switch. Needs to stop.
Yeah, I agree completely. Why don't we pause here? We'll come back and we'll list, you got a sneak peek of it there. We're going to list the GOP Sustainable Future principles that the Minority Leader is trying to engage the body with. Stay with us.
It's all about education.
All right, welcome back in. State Representative Patricia Morgan is my guest. Yeah, she works up at that place. We like to show pretty pictures of the State House. It's kind of a by rote thing that we do. I don't know. Anyway, Jess, do me a favor, put up the GOP priorities here. This is something that Representative Morgan was talking about last week, but she absolutely asserts, well, I shouldn't talk about her, she's sitting right here. Yeah. You assert that this is something you've been talking about all session long.
We
I
have
always
been.
give you a hard time on timing. I have absolutely no quarrel at all whatsoever with any of these concepts.
They're good things.
Including eliminating the prevailing wage for school repairs, disability pension reform, eliminating the tangible property tax, personal property tax, and establishing an Office of Inspector General. Give me bullets on each one of those four real quick.
All right, eliminating the prevailing wage on school repairs. We have $2 billion of school repairs that are needed. We need to find a way to get it done quickly and where we can afford it. There's not $2 billion hanging around. So you can save between 12 and 20% by giving an exemption to the prevailing wage. It's an exemption to the prevailing wage for school repairs. Ohio did it. They saved bundles of money. We think we can save $250 million.
And the prevailing wage is defined as?
It's a union. It's devised by the union. It's a wage with the benefits. So the wage with the health insurance and a pension all wrapped in it together. But a lot of contractors don't use it. And this obviously makes for more competition. There
and when
are
they
a lot
don't
of
use it,
construction.
they don't get the business.
That's right.
Because the bid requires prevailing wage.
That's right. They
by
have
the
to charge it even if they don't normally use it. So a lot of them don't even try to bid. If we give the exemption, there'll be more competition, and it'll help taxpayers. It'll get our students. Our students deserve good schools.
Disability pension reform.
We know it's broken. I mean, you've talked about it how many times about, you know, some of the real abuses that are going out there. That's about property tax reform. Property taxes keep going up and up and up, and one of the real contributing factors is the disability pensions. They take more money out sooner. There's other benefits like free college tuition that is associated with it, and it's the property tax owner that is paying for it.
What reform do you want there, though? What specifically do you want to do?
Yeah, the bill that I put in was one that was passed by Nancy Mayer and John Harwood already. So it's already gone through the House, it just didn't go through the Senate. And it basically says that if you're on a disability pension and you go and get a second job, you can make as much as the same title that's an active employee. And after that, you start losing dollar for dollar off of your disability pension.
Meaning you don't double down on your,
That's
you can't
right.
be disabled and double
You
down
can't
on
be
your
getting
income.
that whole disability pension and then having a whole brand new job as
I've
well.
always wondered why businesses have to pay a sales tax on the property that they buy to put into an office place or, you know, a plant.
Your desk, your phone,
and they have to,
your computers.
They pay taxes on the existence of it. It is
on the existence of it.
It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, you know, it's unbelievable. We are the second highest in the country, and it hurts small businesses. Our largest employer collectively is our homegrown local small businesses. They employ Rhode Islanders, and we have to make it easier for them to do business here in Rhode Island. They'll grow jobs.
You want an inspector general. Explain what that is.
It's an independent, so we have an auditor general right now who kind of goes through the books and finds irregularities.
Reports to the General Assembly.
And reports to the General Assembly, but he's not independent. He is an employee of the State House. So he's not independent. An independent inspector general can go anywhere he wants. He has subpoena power, he has investigative power, and he can prosecute. So he's independent, can go wherever he wants. Waste, fraud, and abuse. We know it exists up there. We need to stamp it out. This is a statistic that you should know. There are 9 states that have inspector generals. Those states have a lower tax burden than those that don't. Rhode Island, our tax burden per person is like $8,800. In those states that have inspector generals, it's $5,000 and lower, down to about $3,300.
Well, it might have been handy with the 38 Studios debacle, that's for sure. Don't you think?
It would have helped with that. It would have helped with the Gallison. He stole almost $4 million. Right? Nobody caught him. He was taking money every year for no value. An inspector general would have caught him.
Well, that was a private the transactional issue.
No, he was taking money in community service grants.
Oh, well, in what I like to call you know what I call it, the grant money.
Tell
well,
me
actually,
whatever.
the Robin. But those were the higher grant levels than the thing that I get crazy about.
The community service grants can be very large. What was it? The sports university thing down at URI,
Right.
Mr. Doyle,
Right.
he got
International
$500,000
Sports
bucks.
Institute, right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's actually what would shine a little light on the whole
So
thing.
huge community service grants, but Gallison, over the course of his time, took almost $4 million.
All right, so I'm going to take a break here. We're going to hit a couple of contemporary issues and also talk a little bit about the behavior in the State House. Stay with us. The show during the break is actually better than the show that we're doing here. Hey, listen, we've now learned, you try to point out that the net on the toll revenue is going to be a lot less than projected.
We're going to lose money.
And now we've learned that the actual cost of manufacturing and maintaining the tolls is actually nearly $20 million higher than they were actually thinking about. And now we have the Truckers Association, both locally and nationally, saying, you know what, we're not going to sue on a couple of early gantries put up, which leaves the state in a very precarious position right now. I would think that you guys, in addition to the good fight you've made on the money issues, ought to be threatening the state DOT and the governor not to go forward, because they've promised me on the record, and even the speaker has said, they're not going to put up more than 1 or 2 or 3 gantries waiting for the litigation so that they can win that litigation and put the rest of the gantries up. Well, if they're not going to get the litigation until all the gantries are up, we got a game of chicken going on here. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay, so what's the Republican position on this? Because I think there's a vacuum of leadership that's missing here. They signed a contract. I hope there's an out on that contract in case
We did check, and there is an out.
Good, because if they don't put them up, they're not going to make the payments, correct?
Well, there's an out. We
Okay.
can cancel the contract.
So what are you going to do here? Are you going to? You guys ought to be standing on your heads as soon as this budget is over about the governor, calling her out on what she's going to do. I mean, I have to chase her down and figure it out, because the last time she told me, she said, we're only going to put up a couple, get sued. And then if we lose the suit, we're not going to put them up. Well, guess what? They're not going to sue you until you put 17 up. So what are you going to do?
I think the American Trucking Association has said they're going to wait until there's a considerable number up so they can demonstrate real harm.
Right.
So, right.
The whole shooting match.
Real harm. But, I mean, people should be furious at this. In this budget, they are taking back the truck. So they gave the truckers, the in-state truckers, a break on registration fees for 1 year, another bait and switch. That's coming back into the budget. They are tearing down a perfectly good bridge. This is the Oxford Street Bridge. It's where it's being picked because there's no detour around it. But it is a perfectly fine bridge. They're going to tear it down so they can put tolls on it. They said that there were 10,000 trucks that went through Rhode Island. Turns out, if you look at satellite GPS data, there's an independent group that tracks it. It's a third of that. And even if we say it's 2/3 of that, we're going to lose $7 million from putting these things up.
So look, every time you talk about the numbers,
it's a catastrophe.
I think every time you talk about the numbers, you're on the money. But the point here is that the game of chicken is going to have to be decided upon and played. And it seems to me that you've made enough arguments, and the governor has already been gun-shy enough waiting for litigation to actually pull back on this toll program if the pressure is put on. Because they got to make a decision. Put all of them up and get sued? Because if they lose the lawsuit, guess who's going to get told? Every car in
we're
the
going to
state.
get told. If it goes forward, we're going to be told. I think this is about an election that comes up, quite frankly,
But I just think
and
you
about
guys have
stopping them.
you've done such good work on the numbers.
Yep.
You now have to call her out on the decision to put them up at all now that the truckers have already said they're not going to sue. She was waiting to be sued. She's not going to get sued until they're all up.
You know, we said before, if you're really dead set on this, we think it's bad, but put up one. But now they've signed this contract, right? They've signed the contract, and the director came before us, and he has already allowed or let contracts for $750 million worth of projects. Well, he only has $500 million, $550 million in his budget. So he's spending way into the future already.
All right, but listen, we'll see whether or not.
It's very troubling.
I just hope you call the governor out on the chicken game, because it's going to have to happen soon. Listen, I'm mortified about how you guys have argued against this stadium deal. I mean, the tolls, I think you're right on the money. You're so good on so many issues. Why are you crying not a dollar taxpayer money when we're already in a private-public partnership with McCoy Stadium? Why are you standing on your head on that?
These are multimillionaires. They bought this as a money-making venture. They did. They knew what they were getting. and now they want a brand new $85 million stadium. You've got to be kidding. Really, they knew what they were buying. It's not for we taxpayers to make sure they make a profit on it. Do you really think? And it's for seasonal jobs on top of that, Dan.
Don't you look at
this is not economic development.
Well, listen, it's a quality of life enhancement for the state of Rhode Island and Southern New England, has been for a long time. You don't think it'd be harmful to the overall culture and confidence of the state to lose that AAA franchise as one of the portfolio items? When people say, hey, what's going on in Rhode Island? We get this, we get the pieces, we get this, we get this. We got the big blue bug, thank God that's clean. And we got the Paw Sox. And you don't think that's an important thing for the quality of life of the state? At least to keep on. And by the way, the deal that they have is the most expensive deal to a franchise of any franchise in any part of the league anywhere in the country. Aren't you looking at the totality of the industry before you start to pick it apart in the way that you're doing?
Dan, I think what adds to the quality of life in Rhode Island is that we have real good jobs for people to fill, quite frankly. We have not regained the amount of jobs that we lost in the recession. And of those that we've added, the new jobs, 45% of them pay $35,000 or less. If we're going to give away $80 million, if we're going to use $80 million of taxpayer funds, we need to do something that will get good jobs created in Rhode Island.
I don't know where you get the $80 million figure. I don't know where you get that number. They got $45 million in. It's a combination of about a little less than $40 million between the state and the city in bonds that are serviceable by the cash flow that they have. I mean, this is not a line item of $40 million from the state that comes out of the budget. This is something that is borrowed and is paid for with the interest.
They don't need a loan from us. Seriously, they don't need a loan from the taxpayers.
McCoy Stadium is financed by the same kind of formula.
If they need to borrow money to build the stadium, they have enough credit. These guys have a couple of $1 billion between them. They can get their own bonds.
All right, let me tell you.
They don't need to put us on the hook. And you know what ends up happening?
Other cities
in 18 years, they're going to want it to be renovated. And who does it then? Oh, the people who own it.
They actually have a fund built into this formula for that. And other cities in New England are going to step up and they're going to swipe that team under a formula that will probably be even less restrictive than this particular proposal is.
And I suppose those other states have better jobs, better jobs for their people to fill. We don't need a stadium that's going to be empty most of the time and giving us people who sell hot dogs.
Well, empty most of the time. They had 11,000 the other night.
That's good.
That's not empty most of the time.
So you talk about one night. What about the other nights?
Well, they average 4,500,
What about February, March?
They don't play baseball in February, March.
There you go.
When we come back, we'll talk about the behavior of the State House. Stay with us.
Am I missing the joke, Senator? I said, am I missing?
You can continue to testify.
So it's difficult to testify when three people are laughing.
Whatever I'm saying back here is my business.
It's your business.
It's my business. You address the committee directly when it's your turn.
I refuse to sit here and be laughed.
So some of the tone, you've suffered some of that aggravation.
I have, yeah.
Is the behavior getting any better?
Well, I guess you have some documentary evidence that it's not. Yeah.
Mm.
There is an attitude of arrogance, and it's really unfortunate because people do come, they want to be heard, and I think they deserve our respect. They put in a lot of time coming.
I got 12 seconds. When do you announce for governor?
If I decide, it'll be in the fall.
In the fall. Really thinking about it?
Mm-hmm.
Need some money. Go raise some money.
Okay, will do.
All right. Go to work.
I will.
See ya.